Ska du ha den? Du behöver inte ha den där.
Nej.
Jag sätter den där. Bakom till hand.
Ta den här bak.
Yeah. Welcome, everybody. And I'm really glad to see so many people. So I'm Christina Malova from Axis Communication, working as an architect and engineering manager. So today in our seminar, we will discuss and present how the video technology can support smart city. We will also discuss how camera can be used in a new innovative ways, only as a sensor where the video is kept in the camera. So we will inspire you with customer stories, with the solutions. After the seminar, we have a workshop upstairs on the second floor, where we would like to discuss opportunity improvements and solutions. So with that said, I would like to introduce our EMEA segment development manager for smart cities, Andrea Sori, who will lead the presentation. So Andrea.
Thank you, grazie, and hello everyone. I'm really happy to be here in this beautiful city today. Coming from Italy, I will share as much as I can when it comes to use of video technology. But again, really happy to be in this fantastic place. So let's start a little bit with who is Axis, because I think it's worth to contextualize a bit our background as a company. We do technology. You might have heard about us. Actually, a Swedish story. Everything started in 1984. Two founders of our company invented the first camera for internet networks. So we are very proud of being the first inventing a camera streaming video over the internet. That was really a big innovation for all the CCTV, the video surveillance industry, that still has an impact today. So today it's a leading company with a lot of products to cover different use cases. And today I will share a bit of the different use cases for cameras. Yeah, I think this is a long journey that we have behind us, but it's also interesting to share about the future possibilities that I will try to highlight during the presentation. Most of the people that knows Axis in our industry think Axis camera. This is the natural association. But in reality, we do technology where the camera is an important core component, but we have more components. Components to manage the access control, for instance, to distribute audio. Basically, all different components that together in this IoT area offer solution for different use cases. So the thing is that when we connected the concept of a camera to an open location like a city, we need to take into account that many things might happen during the day. In a typical or unfortunate city in our world, we might have problems related to traffic, problems related to public safety, weather conditions, a bit like happened this morning. Things happen during the day, like during the night time. Different challenges related to, again, behavior of people, behavior of mobility, challenges related to graffiti, vandalism. Unfortunately, all these incidents or accidents might happen during the normal day in our cities. So basically for us, that we are commonly considered like a manufacturer of cameras for video surveillance, it's the opportunity and the ambition to be seen as a sensor, not only for public safety, but also to mitigate and improve the challenges like mobility in terms of transportation, traffic, flow of people, and the environmental conditions. So the message that I would like to give you today is considering the camera as a sensor, not only for public safety, but also for improving the people flow and then monitoring the awareness about the environmental conditions in our cities. In my past experience providing cameras to several cities, over 5,000 cities in the world are using our cameras for surveillance. The direct connection was I install the camera, I make my city safe. And this is a mistake. The camera itself does not make the city safer. What we would like to consider is the camera is an auxiliary resource. It's like an extended hand for our authorities, our personnel, in order to be more effective. So it can be an auxiliary resource for public safety, an auxiliary resource for traffic management, for parking management, for environmental monitoring, up to the civil protection. So the camera is a tool. Now, in order to make the cameras a sensor for better cities, we want to step back and look from an helicopter point of view, what is a healthy and functioning urban community. Overall, also how I hear today by discussing with the other people in the pavilions, basically we want more people walking and biking in cities, because that means that we have a reduced emission, better air quality, less noise pollution, fewer cars, less incidents, less fatalities. This is really bottom line what we want to facilitate. So the question is, why don't people walk or ride bikes in cities? I think you in this beautiful country that are very willing on using walking and bikes for moving, you know better than many other people, but among the different valid answers to these questions, basically walking and riding might not be considered safe. This is a top valid reasons. Or people don't feel confident in traffic on a bicycle because of the risk of incident. Leaving the bike is unsafe, maybe biker might be stolen. The trip is too long. The weather conditions, these are all valid factors. So the question is, what facilities can offer, what the technology can enable the city authorities offering solutions to these answers? Basically, there are three things that a city can naturally offer to the citizens in order to improve the conditions for moving by walk or by bike. The first is a good lighting, because the perception of the better lighting improves the perception of safety. And next to that is also the perception of cleaning. If our roads and streets are clean, the natural perception of citizens improves in terms of safety and willingness to walk. What we have seen is that many city authorities use cameras for improving the safety of the paths, of the areas, on top of good lighting and good cleaning. And not only cameras, but also speakers or SOS help points where you have a bi-directional interaction with someone that is in the control room to help, to assist, to support the safe paths. So basically, for a company that produces cameras, the idea is that a city where you feel safe walking a lot at night is the baseline. It's really the true cause. Having technology to improve people, in terms of both the perception but also statistical incidents in certain paths. In Sweden, it's very safe, but we have several experiences all around the world where there is not the same context. So adding cameras, loudspeakers, technology improves the user experience, the citizen experience, and make them more frequent to use bikes and walks. So overall, the technology is being used and is used in cities to create what we call the safe paths or safe areas, where good lighting, cleaning, and cameras together helps city authorities in improving the specific location that has been selected. We cannot really secure all the city once, but certain areas can be privileged. And cameras, speakers, help points can help an assistant to monitor the paths and make sure that not only from a perception point of view, but also from a factual point of view, that specific area is secure. Because we reduce the intervention time in case of incident. Yeah, there are different technology to call a camera. It's possible to call a camera a video camera that shows you actually the video images nighttime, where low resolution, low sensitivity is essential to have an high resolution. Or we have the thermal cameras. In this case, we use the heat radiation emitted by the objects. So securing a path can be done through different technologies. In this way, we can, let's say, save the privacy because we don't get any information related to the person integrity, but we can clearly spot the dynamics of what happens. Here we have more information about the persons. It depends on the use case of the problem that is subject of this location. Once we secure a specific part, a specific location, there is also the opportunity to do more with the existing sensors. So this is an experience in the city of Florence with the main square, Piazza della Signoria. I don't know if you had the opportunity to visit Florence, and this is the main square most of people pass through. Very busy, very busy. The thing is that not only it has to be secured, but also the city authority would like to know how to optimize the flow of people. How we make sure that the people has the best experience walking through the square, that they go to the right direction to don't miss the specific event, the new museum, the new exhibition. So in this case, the cameras have been used as a sensor to monitor people flow, grouping, direction. So this is an information that is not for the police, it's an information for the urban design. As a urban planner, you understand where the people flow goes and how to optimize the flow. Both for the experience of the citizens and the tourists, but also from a safety point of view, the city is more aware about where to allocate ambulances in case of super crowded situations, where to put more staff for tourist welcome. So this is an example, for instance, where a camera is used basically for some kind of safety in terms of amount of people, but mainly for intelligent data to improve the citizen experience. Data, not video, are generated out of these cameras, and they feed a platform, a big data platform that creates dashboard and charts. So here, the output of the camera is more data that, of course, it requires that on the other side there is someone that is interested in the data, capable of reading data and understanding that. You can spot strange patterns that we can call anomalies, or you can recognize patterns that you know, and we know that that square, typically during the daytime, especially during weekend, is extremely busy. If there is a pattern that is an anomaly, that will make us reflect that perhaps we don't know our location as we think. And we can reconsider our assumptions. So this is basically the bottom line, using camera for safety, but also for people flow, improving the citizen experience, the assets. The context, unfortunately, is that cities are becoming more and more populated, which means more and more traffic, more cars, more people to move. And also a new mix of modes of transport. We have the scooters, e-scooters, and in the future we soon have automatic cars and electric cars, different dynamics. So let's say new challenges on top of existing challenges when it comes to traffic. Bottom line, it's challenging finding a parking. It's still a daily issue for most of us. But in the future, we will have more challenges because of the urbanization. So also in this case, the camera can be seen as a sensor for public safety, for street safety, and eventually for improving the traffic flow. And I thought to bring another example, and apologies if it's another Italian one, but because of my route, I have to bring what I know the most, but there are several examples like that. In this case, it's the city of Milan, where the cameras are used in multiple sub-locations of the road network. The first example is rest areas. Unfortunately, the rest areas in Italy, like in many other countries, are subject to illegal dumping. Stop cars leaving waste and leaving the areas dirty. So in this case, the use of cameras allows to mitigate this problem in favor of cleanliness and hygiene. Another example is using the cameras for pedestrian safety. Probably the use case that I care the most because of the big amount of fatalities on pedestrian stripes. This is really the most important. Make those, in particular, the stripes where we don't have a traffic light, so it's unregulated, probably the most dangerous ones. We have, of course, the traffic detection to know how busy, what is really the actual use of the network, how many cars per hour, per day are passing by certain streets. And then the speed detector, probably the most annoying when we are caught. On the other side, the most impactful deterrence in speeding. On top, the red light violation. So in this case, again, a camera that was born for public safety used for mobility. This is the picture of the camera used in streets today. What can be done next? The camera are basically a computer that can read data from video and pass the data to a platform, as we have seen for the case in Florence. When we collect data from traffic flow, all this data can be fed in a platform for traffic management. The traffic management platform can be the platform for urban design. So we can basically recreate the most busy paths, the most usual paths within our cities, and then apply artificial intelligence on the collected data to perform what-if analysis. So, for instance, if we need to do a maintenance on the bridge, which is the best day to perform the maintenance? Which is the best part of the day? Which is the best week to close to divert the traffic for that specific operation? All these operations are based on assumptions today, but by collecting data, we can optimize the projection and the assumption much more. An extreme example of why collecting data for traffic planning is basically connected to what I said at the beginning. We want people to use more bikes and walk, so we need to give more room for them. So, in order to plan different street planning, we can collect data as it is the situation today, feed a what-if platform, project modeling, as make assumption. What if we change a lane in favor of bike lanes? What if we close a traffic street for pedestrians go only? what would be the reflection? And we can do all these kinds of assumptions before actually implementing the changes. So this is the overall idea of why using cameras to collect data, feed a platform, apply artificial intelligence to project possible implementation before, and then compare the assumption after we have done implementation and change it to our urban dynamic. And most of the times, a change to the urban plan have an immediate effect of disappointment to citizens. So it's very important to have data before changing something so that we can justify, a city authority can justify why we are applying a change and with some kind of disappointment at the initial stage. In this area of IoT, I thought it was also important to mention the possibility to connect data from the camera with data from air quality sensors. We know air quality is really a big challenge. One of the challenges is that we don't have a granular measurement of the air quality per each location of our city. So with IoT, we can have more sensors, which means that we can collect, like in this case, information related to traffic, air quality, and weather condition from that specific location, from that specific node. This gives us a much better understanding about the correlation between traffic and air quality in that specific weather condition. And if we want to have an impact on that specific location, we can act from there by changing, for instance, the traffic lighting timing, redirecting the traffic flow for trucks, and so on and so forth. Immediately assess the impact of our changes per location, not per area, because it would be too difficult. Together with air quality, another big challenge is noise pollution. Maybe less popular, but still very annoying. And noise pollution comes in roads and streets, mainly from cars that don't respect the noise limit for different reasons. So the use of microphones allows the camera to detect when a specific car exceeds the threshold of decibel that is considered annoying. So first of all, by measuring more why our roads are noisy, we can then take a proper activity. And then the thing is, if we have a camera that is originally used for public safety, now it's very much possible to use it for improving mobility in our cities. Why not using the same sensor for the third involved challenge, that is environment condition? So with the cameras, for instance, it's possible to monitor flooding, like in this example. Artificial intelligence applied to video can detect if a flooding is expanding, generate an event, inform the proper authorities, but also collect the data about the flooding patterns. Is the flooding something that is happening now, today, only because of this extraordinary situation, or is a problem that is recurring every season? And then we can really try to counterpart that challenge. Or another thing that we can do with analytics is to detect if the ground of our streets and highways is getting covered by snow. So the risk level of the street to change rapidly according with the precipitation, we can get that information punctual from the side. So a camera that is installed to monitor the mobility, the traffic flow, can also notify us if the condition, if the risk level of that street is changing because of snow. Another example of a camera that can give us more is about the smoke detection. Like in this case here, we have the possibility to monitor and detect the smoke. Early warning is essential to reduce the timing intervention and mitigate the expansion of fires. So this is another way of considering the camera. Probably the one that we will see Europe developing the most in the coming years is very much related to road safety. This is basically becoming a norm, if not almost a must in Europe to secure the city, the roads, not only for the traffic but also for the environmental condition. So in case of snow, hail, strong rain precipitation, which can be reflected in flooding, all this information are becoming almost a must for smart roads in Europe. So the overall idea is to use basically one camera that was meant and considered a camera for surveillance as a sensor for mobility, for environmental monitoring, as an extension for basically our sustainability goals, particularly when it comes to SDG 11, 12, and 13. The camera can be very much an element for a technology enhancement of our awareness, basically helping us to mitigate sound pollution, air pollution, flooding, waste, improve lighting experience, and so on. Yeah, so to conclude, my message is very much about that. There is a bit the paradigm, the scheme that the camera is something that is to spy people and to infringe privacy. In reality, it's an intelligent sensor that can be an auxiliary sensor for city authorities to be more effective, more aware about the condition. So I hope this was of interest for you. And perhaps we have some minutes for questions.
Yeah, we had some few minutes for the questions.
So I have this beautiful microphone. So do you have any questions to Andrea directly? Yes.
Thank you. So is the camera able to only send out the numeric values instead of the image? Or do you need an external program to do the calculations?
The idea is that if a video is not required, if video is not useful, the camera sends only data.
Okay.
Only data, and actually encrypt the data to make sure that also even the data can be sensitive. So we of course want to make this data encrypted like video, but it is very possible to use the camera as a camera only if needed for that specific need.
Yeah, because personally, integrity is very highly yeah, it's strictly regulated here. So I don't see a possibility today to set up cameras everywhere. Unfortunately.
But I think we need to accept that. And again, a camera must not be a camera because it's called a camera. It can be a sensor that is used for imaging. The thing is, when installed sensors, big part of the budget goes in the infrastructure and the installed cost. So the cities that have already spent money, public money for cameras, we think it would be sustainable if they use the same to do more. This is the rationale. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Is there more, I don't know, questions that you may have?
Yes, I have one. I don't think I need that.
Okay.
I can speak loudly. So I heard that we have cameras in Helsingborg now for tests. What I wonder is what kind of camera are we using now? And what is it for?
Maybe I can answer as I've been working with those projects. So we have several cameras in the Helsingborg right now. On the Kunstoriet, I don't know if you have been there recently. It's a new rebuilt square where we have cameras mounted in the poles. The idea is, as Andrea mentioned, the public safety. So in case of any crime, there is a signal which comes to the camera and camera will be turned on. and will zoom on the person or on the situation and give the signal to the operator. So that's the idea, to prevent and to have a safe square to prevent any kind of violation. Because the camera is connected to the speaker, where actually you can, it can detect the voice. So that's the one. The other one we also went a little bit outside of security. In that case, the project of PS Water. There we have a camera under the water, which is connected to the VDR. Through the VDR, you can see the whole life of the different species under the water. It's actually very interesting. I know that some of you have visited it and saw it in live, so I would recommend to see it. The third one is we have several our solutions, cameras and radars in the city on a different places to secure that the whole H122 exhibition will be safe. So that the flow in the stages, in the areas, in the squares will be safe. So that's what we are working, what you can see during those days. Thank you. Are there more questions?
Thank you. I would like to ask what are the bottlenecks and like most significant challenges in applying those cases? Are those like process we discussed or like traffic and interpretation because the computing applications or clouds, etc.?
I think this is a really interesting aspect because the scenario is that the technology allows sharing of information. So the camera originally was meant to provide video to police and law enforcement. Now it provides data to multiple stakeholders, like environmental authorities, traffic authorities, and find the right organizational stakeholders to collect the information and make use of it. It's not always easy. So this is also part of my job, try to pass the message that communicate that this information is for multiple destinations. Some cities are more used to work in teams, and some are a bit more inside. So this is a challenge.
Tech-wise, is there two questions in mind? The first one is the application regarding like business or collaboration. The second one is about tech. In the tech interpretation, what's the bottleneck for the current use cases?
Sorry.
Bottleneck for the current use cases when you're flying. Let's say the H122. Is the bottleneck the electricity or the wireless connection or computing ability?
I mean, if we say the cameras are using a lot of power because it has a lot of analytics as mentioned before, so it requires to be connected to the power, so it's not wireless ones. So that is one of, I would say, the basic condition when we talk about place. What is the purpose? Because we need to understand what is the purpose, what you would like to achieve, where it is located, and what kind of data would you like to get. And that's the basic. We need to have a power. So I would say that's the number.
Internet is not really necessary.
No, you can you can basically, it depends, you can have the camera connected through the VNS, or you can run the analytics directly in the camera. So it's an offline version, and then you of course run it to the computer or the way you want to have it. But that's not, it's just important to understand the purpose and what you would like to do, because we have several cameras I think, over 300 products now. And we are still developing more and more. So with the new AI learning and deep learning, basically we have more and more analytics in the camera, which also reduce a lot of our.
Yeah, to make the helps, but basically what we see is that the cities who in the past have invested mostly in infrastructure, like fiber and connecting power, are those that are more agile in deploying the technology. So this really makes a difference when it comes to city that wants to broadly deploy sensors, but that they don't have a backbone of infrastructure behind. That's potentially bottleneck. I don't know if you answered the question.
Yeah, I just no, I don't think anything. I just realized when we were talking about traffic patterns that we have a situation in the city of Malmö where they have dedicated bus lanes, which creates difficult traffic situations at rush hour. And you will find lots of cars queuing, and you have the bus lane which is empty. And I was thinking if you could have some sort of object analytics that would pick up when a bus is about to enter into the lane, and if there's no bus nearby, then it would be open for the rest of the different types of vehicles, because it's a big issue in that city. It's causing a severe traffic problems.
Yeah, and I think this is also a very good point. If we take a typical street in city center and we do a section of it, we have the main lanes where we have a lot of traffic and congestions with cars. Then we have the dedicated lanes for buses, where we want to basically avoid obstacles, like people illegally passing through. And then it's all about the punctuality. So we have two next lanes with two different challenges and ambitions. And then we have the bike lanes, and well, it's a lot about safety, because they have the enemy just next to it. And then we have the pedestrian, right? So I think the first scope is to understand the patterns and to optimize each lane, but definitely the projection would be to consume the asphalt in a most efficient way. And that the dedicated lane can be very much more than so.
Okay. Are there any more questions you may have? So if not, we would like to thank you very, very much for your participation, for very good questions. And we would like to welcome you also in our workshop upstairs on the second floor, where we can discuss more detail the opportunities for improvement in your particular city. So thank you very much. We have a small present for you. And yeah, thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Then we will wait for Yeah, thank you very much. We'd like to go into the fourth floor. Yeah, you want
I just don't want to sound so negative, but will you go to the first floor? Can I come to you and ask you? Sure, I have. I'll see you officer. Yes, yes, I come.
Would you like to join the work? Yeah. Please, can you wait here and we will go
Very nice. Thank you. As always.
Thank you so much.
I'm not sure if I would join the workshop because we will have a meeting in those days. No, on the phone. Because, yeah, we take it. Yes. It's just like after I send the okay, I'm joining, then I realize it's the meeting. We'll see.
Would you like to join the workshop about? It's more to discuss what you like here. What you have.
Yeah,
Yeah, no problem. That's okay. And if you want, we can have also.
If there's a bus, exactly, yeah. Because our sensors do a lot of the a lot of object detections, so classifications are various things.
Thank you.
In conjunction with like the gantry system, you could have like you go on a motorway, smart motorway to say high shoulder can be used, can't be used, bus lane can be used, can't be used. So yeah, I thought that was quite interesting actually. Sandy. So, I work for I'm not sure if it's a competitive company or not, but Audacity Labs in the UK. Yeah, so that was an interesting point. I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah.
Thank you. Would you like to join the workshop?
Yeah, I would do. So your name was
Christina.
right, and you work with the city council.
Yes.
Yeah. So I was in touch with a lady called Caroline who's in the city, who I'm talking about because we've got IoT sensors as well. And I know with this event coming up, she has a lot of stuff going on, so I'm hopefully going to have a meeting with her after to talk about our IoT sensor and how it can integrate with Helsingborg. So it's interesting. So, but how many of the Axis cameras do you have?
So generally, in the city, or,
In the city.
we are testing currently just the one, so it's not that many. So we also radar, which is not what camera, but radar we are testing, and the main areas. And then we have like thank you very much. Camera. Thank you very much. Thermal camera and one with AI analytics.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Okay.
I believe we mean so. Did you have one? Yes. You're good on that? Yes. Good. Right level.